The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe.
Are you tired of being misguided by self-serving financial service profit seekers? Are you looking for a better way to take control of your destiny and create a financially free path for future generations? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Banking on Your Retirement podcast. We cut through the noise of the often self-serving financial markets with simplified yet foundational financial principles for creating a more peaceful, joyful, and prosperous life. So be brave and be free. This is your home. Now, here's your Banking on Your Retirement host, Johnny Ward.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back. Banking on Your Retirement, episode number 3. As people love to say on these kinds of shows, that I have a really exciting guest, and we're going to be talking to Wayne Hicks, the owner of Liberty Dollar Financial Association, and we're going to dive into the 25-plus year history a little bit of Liberty Dollar, and get a little bit of Wayne's background, and then get into some of the lawful and logistical ways that you can associate with Liberty Dollar. And I really, truly am excited about this because I think it is a real alternative that we can sort of bank on if there's a financial meltdown of sorts. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Wayne Hicks of Liberty Dollar Financial Association. Welcome, Wayne. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Johnny. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, yeah. So thanks so much.
My wife, Kathy, who was supposed to be on this with me, is on the road today, but I actually have her on speakerphone, so you may hear her perk up and jump into conversation.
Yeah,
here.
And I want to say hi, Kathy. How are you? Well, yeah, there you go. Thanks for joining us. So I wanted to, just give you the floor a little bit, Wayne, and kind of give the backdrop of the history of Liberty Dollar, and then how you became involved a few years down the road. So we could just take it from there.
Well, that's a long story, Johnny.
Well, let's try to keep it within a half hour. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll shorten it as we can. The Liberty Dollar was created in 1998 by a man named Bernard von Nothaus after he spent, about 26, 27 years developing it after an epiphany he had in 1972. He wanted to see sound money returned to the people, which went away when we went off the gold and silver standards, etc. So he created an alternative currency. He originally called it American Liberty Currency, and it was paper warehouse receipts and beautiful silver coins that people used just like money. And for 5 years, he did really, really well. He traveled all over the country talking about his money and spending his money and showing it to people. And by 2003, when I got involved, he had $5 million of it in circulation. Well, then I was in Berryville, Arkansas, and I was doing, we didn't call it podcast back then, we called it internet radio, okay? And I was a fairly popular internet radio host back in 2001, 2002. Well, I had interviewed Bernard a couple of times, and so I went into the banking business in Berryville, Arkansas in 2003. I started a private online bank that many people loved and took advantage of. And it was growing well. And then somebody asked me one day, said, "Hey, do you take Liberty Dollars for deposit?" I thought, well, why not? So I did. And before I knew what was happening, I was getting an awful lot of Liberty Dollars in. And that got me interested in them again. So I got involved. I was already what they called a redemption center at the time, which means I was part of the program. And I started taking Liberty Dollars and showing them to merchants all over town. And I did a little advertising and I did a little promotion. Did a trivia show on the local radio station, Money Trivia. I had a bunch of goofy questions that most people couldn't answer to save their lives. But I would give away a silver coin whenever they got their answer right.
That sounds like
And that got me a lot of attention.
That sounds like the old show, Truth and Consequences, right? They would ask these questions that were unanswerable.
Yeah, but what happened was within just a couple of months, I had the whole town of Berryville, Arkansas taking Liberty dollars, just like it was regular money. And I called Bernard one day and said, hey, you got to come down to Berryville and see how well people take your money. He said, what do you mean? I said, I got the whole town taking it. He said, you're lying. I said, no, come see. So he did. And he spent the whole day just running around town, laughing his tail end off as he spent his money and never once had to explain it to anybody. They all knew what it was. They loved it.
Right.
He said, Wayne, you got to teach other people how to do this. So we started a school, called it Liberty Dollar University. Just a fun name for it. We didn't go official or anything. And people from all over the country would fly in, spend a few days with me, and learn the methods that I use to put it in circulation. And then they would go home and do the same thing in their communities. So that was in 2003. By 2006, when the government decided, hey, Liberty Dollars getting a little too big for their britches, we had gone from 5 million in circulation in 2003 to over 85 million in circulation around the country. And that made the government nervous. Paul Harvey did a little thing about the Liberty Dollar. One of his, what's new? The Liberty Dollar, he said, where the Federal Express and UPS gave competition to the post office. The Liberty Dollar is giving competition to the Federal Reserve.
Ooh,
and the government did not like that at all. Right. So one day in 2006, we got raided. Bernard got raided. A bunch of other places got raided. Anybody involved in alternative currency got raided by the IRS. They say, no, we were just serving a warrant. It wasn't a raid. Somebody comes through the door and sticks a gun in your face. That's a raid. I don't care what they call it.
Yeah.
Okay?
I feel raided.
Anyway, they raided all of our offices and seized all our computers and just did all their nasty stuff. Well, we were smart enough to have backups and went right back to work the next day. But it was just a crazy time.
Yeah.
Well, they spent several years deciding what they were going to do. In 2007, they finally shut Bernard down on the Liberty Dollar. They had already shut me down, and a bunch of others got shut down, eGold, eBullion, etc. They prosecuted all of us. Well, a little side note is that bank that I had started, I had done quite well in that business. And I had actually left the bank and turned it over to my ex-wife. And I had gone to Branson, Missouri, and went in the entertainment business by that time. Well, it never got out of my name. So when they decided who they were going to prosecute, they kept looking at me. And I fought them off as long as I could. They finally said, well, we're going to indict you for conspiracy to defraud the United States because we've got two people who say you told them that if they put money in your bank, you could hide it from the IRS. I said, we never told nobody that. They said, we got two people who says you do. That's a conspiracy. You can't beat a conspiracy charge, no matter how you try. They've got two witnesses or however many they want to create to make it sound like you're guilty. So I was prosecuted. Bernard was prosecuted. He was prosecuted for counterfeiting. We'll get into that in a moment. All the others were prosecuted. Out of all of us, I am the only one who did any prison time because I'm the only one that took a plea bargain. My lawyer told me, he says, well, they're offering you probation if you just, plead no contest. So I pleaded no contest. And when we got to sentencing, the judge said, probation my rear end. I'm sending you to prison. He says, I wish I could give you 50 years, but all I can give you is 5. I'm going, what? And he's talking about you people and your drugs. There's no drugs involved in the case. And you people doing this and that. And none of that's involved in my case that he's talking about. The IRS agent who was on my case was in the courtroom. She stood up, said, Your Honor, please, this man should not go to prison. Okay? Said, I have been through everything that he did. He had no intent of anything wrong. He's a good man. He's done all his good works. And the judge said, sit down, shut up, or I'll hold you in contempt. The FBI agent on my case said, Your Honor, I would ask the court not to send this man to prison. Judge said, sit down, shut up, or you're going to jail for contempt. So they shut up. The IRS agent actually sat there and cried as they sentenced me to 5 years in federal prison. Well, I did my time. I got out. Side note, several years after I got out, about 3 or 4 years after I got out of prison, I get a phone call from an attorney. He says, hey, I'm working with the IRS on a case that was related to your case. He said, and that meant I had to go through your case. Were you aware that the judge suppressed evidence that would have had your case thrown out? I said, was I aware? No. Am I surprised? Not a bit. It turns out that I had been videoed several times talking in front of groups of people saying each time, we cannot help you hide your money from the IRS. He said, since you stated that publicly several times and there's video evidence of it, he said, that should have thrown your case out because you can't have a conspiracy that you told people one thing and then publicly you're saying something entirely different for the whole world to hear. So it would have thrown your case out. Well, in any event, I did the time. I got out. Bernard didn't take a plea bargain. He went to trial. They dragged his case out until 2011. Tried their best to convict him of counterfeiting. They said, oh, it looks like government money. People didn't know it wasn't government money. The judge said, you people are idiots. He says, I've looked at his money. It don't look nothing like government money. And ain't nobody in this country stupid enough to believe the government's giving them real silver coins. Okay? Everybody knows we quit doing that a long time ago. So they finally gave up on the counterfeiting charge. They got him on an old statute from back in the Civil War, 18 U.S.C. 486, which says no one may make, utter, or pass any coin or bar of gold, silver, or any other metal for use as current money. And current money means anything that's used in exchange and barter. Well, that shut Bernard down. It broke his heart. Well, in 2018, I got in touch with Bernard again. I hadn't talked to him in several years, but I tracked him down and gave him a call. And he said, Wayne. I said, yeah. He said, where are you? I said, well, I'm living in Florida. He said, so am I. He said, I'm fixing to go on a trip and visit friends. I'm going to stop at your house first. And a few days later, he showed up at my house, and my wife, Kathy, was there with me, and Bernard was just talking about the good old days of the Liberty Dollar. This was in early September of 2018. Well, long about October 1st, Bernard was coming back off his trip, and he says, I'm going to stop at your house again. I said, okay. And he sat there at my house in my living room, and he said, gosh darn it, Wayne, I wish somebody would bring back the Liberty Dollar. And my beautiful little wife, and she is beautiful, started bouncing up and down on the couch with her hand in the air, and she said, I will. So she's my boss, but I get to do a lot of the work. Okay. And she tells me what to do.
The way life should be.
Well, we developed what we call the Liberty Dollar Financial Association, which is done a little differently than the way Bernard did it. We have, we're a private membership association operated by a private trust, and we allow our members to purchase silver from us that we hold for them in a warehouse. And when they need cash, we buy the silver back. Or if they want the silver, they can redeem the silver. And when they want to redeem the silver, we give them one of these. the silver Liberty coin. I'm trying to get that where the camera gets a good look at it.
Looks good.
I hope you can see that well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's what we give people who want to have the silver in their own possession. And then we also issue our own paper currency, Liberty Dollar paper currency, warehouse receipts. This is a 1 ounce warehouse receipt. That's a bearer receipt for 1 ounce of 999 fine silver. And whoever holds this owns that ounce of silver. We have these in various denominations, ranging from 1/100th of an ounce all the way up to 5 ounces. And they can be exchanged just like cash. And that's perfectly legal. And the reason we know that is because the judge in Bernard's case said so. While, yes, it was against the law to actually use the silver coins as money, the paper warehouse receipts, the judge ruled, they have had a long history in common law of being used as negotiable instruments. So that was perfectly legal. So there was no charges filed or no conviction of Bernard on using his warehouse receipts, just on the use of silver in commerce, in trade. So that's what shut him down. And we've been around now for about 5 years. We've been doing great. We're building up our membership. Our members absolutely love us. We've got large amounts on deposit in silver. And when they need the cash, we simply buy it back at whatever the spot price is that day. We have a bill payment service for our members where they can have us cut a check and mail it to pay a bill, take it directly out of their silver value. We have a few other services. We have a type of savings account, which is similar to a CD. We call it a term deposit account, where they can put silver into that account and earn 1% monthly. We are working on setting up our own credit union so that we'll be able to offer checking accounts and debit cards to our members. We have a lot of hoops we have to jump through to do that, and we're slowly getting there. It takes time when you're doing something like this. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Yeah, you've told.
That's a lot of it right there.
Thank you so much.
Some people call us the PayPal of the sound money movement, because you can send silver back and forth between the members. And we're actually about to unveil a new API that'll let you collect silver payments on your website. So.
Oh, wow. That's great. Hey, first of all, thank you for that whole story. You've covered so much, and I probably will review some of it with you, but I want to, in a moment, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to dig into a little bit more of the logistics of how somebody engages with Liberty Dollar Financial Association, some of my own thoughts on, the power of all of this, why I'm so excited about it, why I'm bringing Wayne on and Kathy's in the background, and why I'm taking a show's content for this particular subject, because I think it's something we want to be prepared for in case there's, a trouble in the financial system that, shuts it down for some period of time, and we want to have an alternative. So in a moment, we'll come back and hang in there. We'll be right back.
Have you heard about Liberty Dollar Financial Association? Liberty Dollar is a private membership association that allows its members to purchase silver in different forms, which are lawful for use as mediums of exchange. Liberty Dollar Financial Association is a private alternative currency that is provided to members in both digital and paper warehouse receipts. They also sell physical Liberty coins for your personal possession, or they'll securely store your precious metals for you. They provide members with various services that allow them to use their silver's value as a means of exchange, such as their bill pay service, where they will pay your bills out of your silver account, similar to your current banker. Additionally, they offer a term deposit investment account where currently they are paying out in silver a guaranteed 1% per month, which can be compounded over a 1-year term. Liberty Dollar just celebrated 25 years as a silver bullion dealer, storage facility, and exchange. To learn more about Liberty Dollar Financial Association or to become a free member, visit ldrep.nl/BOYR. That's Liberty Dollar Financial Association.
Welcome back. This is your host, Johnny Ward, and I'm having a conversation with Wayne Hicks of Liberty Dollar Financial Association. Thanks for coming back, everybody. Wayne, I want to touch upon a couple things you mentioned and why I'm so excited. First of all, for those that heard that whole legal story, right, they get maybe, whoa, okay, what am I getting involved in here? And when you and I first talked, we talked about the fact that you studied that the transcripts and so forth of that court case. In 2018, you decided, hey, I know this is lawful, this is legitimate, and I can make a go of it. And it is about sound money. It is about freedom. It is about an alternative. And so I want to talk a little bit about the bearer warehouse receipts. And from my knowledge, right, my research is, maybe silversmiths too, but certainly goldsmiths, they stored people's gold, right? People had excess gold, and they gave them a warehouse receipt when somebody put their... So this goes way back, as you said. This has been around for hundreds of years, and they did do something different, which led us kind of to the way things are today. It was the beginning when they decided, well, there's only about, maybe on a monthly basis, there's only 10 or 15% of the stored gold that people want access to. So we've got this other 85, 90% just sitting there doing nothing. So they started to loan that out. So not only did the real owner have a warehouse receipt, now they've got somebody else that's actually borrowing the gold, right?
Right.
And that's what, slowly but surely we ended up in the system that we have today, is the fractional reserve banking system. And so I'm excited about the fact that, yes, what people are worried a little bit about, or, especially people that would listen to someone like me, they're a little bit concerned when they hear about this central bank digital currency, right? And how they would have these social controls over us, where they could, take money from you, tell you what you could do with it and so forth. And there's some out there that would say that, they may create a crisis. The central bank, or central bank of central banks, which is the Bank of International Settlements, they may cause a crisis. And when there's a crisis, well, of course, people panic. And when they panic, they do whatever the masses are doing and whatever the talking heads are telling them to do, right? And so my concern is, if we don't have an alternative ready to go, if people don't know there's an alternative, right? I analogize it to cancer. If somebody told you had cancer, you don't have a plan, you don't have a way of, like, I'm nutritionally or whatever, holistically, I'm going to take care of this, or whatever way, you're going to go with the conventional wisdom. You're going to go to the institute that's closest to you, that's got the best name, that's marketed to you on TV, and you're going to just go because you're in a panic. And if they would possibly cause a crisis, and then they have the solution, right? And that would be potentially the central bank digital currency. And I'm so strong. I want to make the word central. It's not like we don't have digital bank currency today. Almost everything is an account entry. It's hardly any money or dollars, Federal Reserve notes being passed back and forth. It's mostly entries in a computer, and now it's on our phones and on our computer screens. And that is... the fact that we're talking about centralized is the key, right? Centralized bank digital currency, which means one entity is trying to control the whole thing.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's why, obviously, at least the narrative about Bitcoin, was that it was going to be decentralized, right? And that it was trustless, right? Because it used this blockchain technology and there had to be proof, right? There had to be evidence that, there was a paper trail or a blockchain. And so for me, I'm excited about the fact that there's already an alternative. But why you and I are talking, why you agreed to do this, why I wanted to talk with you was to make sure people know there is an alternative that is lawful and that really let me back up a little bit. A lot of times what we hear is, you want to own it personally. You want to own your precious metals. You need to have it in your possession. But honestly, I've changed my mind on that since I've investigated what you're doing with the association, which is I really just want to know I know it's there. And I have if I had these warehouse receipts and I wanted to barter or exchange with somebody for a service or a good, right? I can give it to them. Now they have the bearer or the ownership of that silver that you're storing. Technically, I don't ever really need the silver, right? I own silver and, I have to go to a coin shop. I have to get in line. I have to, it's not that easy for me to turn it over. If I want the silver from you, I can request it. And you could send me either the warehouse receipts or I could request that you send me actual silver dollars in 1 ounce increments and so forth. So I feel like the same system we have today with these debt instruments called Federal Reserve notes, people are believing, right? When I give it to you, you'll give me something in return, in exchange, right? Mm-hmm. Except for those don't have anything behind them except for the belief. But with warehouse receipts, not only do you have the belief, but you have the knowledge that has silver behind it. It is backed by that silver. And so we can just keep moving those warehouse receipts back and forth between customer and vendor, right? And because you have them in multiple increments, right, down to 1/100th of an ounce, right? You can do it just like you were making change with people. It's the same system. And then I want to know that there's a system. If things were to melt down, I can plug right into this. I don't have to go, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Right? I got to do whatever they're going to do. So that to me is a big deal. Okay. So if you want to make any comments on that before I move on, because I'm on a roll.
Let me jump in here. I got two things I want to say.
Okay.
Number one, that debt note, that Federal Reserve note, it says right on it, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. I don't know about anybody else. I have no faith in them, and I will not give them credit. Number two, when you're talking about the warehouse receipts and the different denominations, okay, here's something you need to bear in mind. The same portion of an ounce of silver that would buy you a gallon of gas in 1950 will still buy a gallon of gas today. The same portion of an ounce of silver that would buy you a dozen eggs in 1900 will still buy you a dozen eggs. Yep. And the same portion of an ounce of silver that in 1798 would buy you a loaf of bakery bread will still buy a loaf of bakery bread today.
Yep.
With silver, there's no inflation. Yeah, there's been a couple of times when the silver market's been manipulated and either got really high or really low.
Right.
But in general, the price of silver stays fairly close to the price of other commodities.
Yep.
So that the same part of an ounce that would buy something 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, will still buy that.
Yeah.
So if you set your prices in ounces and think in ounces or fractions of ounces, you're not going to be worried too much about inflation and having to change prices all the time
That's right.
because we'll stay pretty steady.
Store of
That's one
value.
of the things I love about these warehouse receipts.
Yeah, store of value, right?
Yep.
That's what, when you own that, you are riding whatever happens with the inflation of the dollar supply, right?
And we're working now at setting up what we call exchanges around the country, which will be places where people can bring these in and redeem them for silver or some other commodity that we'll have on hand in those exchanges. We want to set up basically warehouse stores where we can keep some silver, we can keep other things there. I'm talking with different small manufacturers about buying their products with Liberty dollars so we can sell them to our members through our exchange stores.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for that. Another thing that I'm really excited about is the term deposits, right? So hold that thought, right? Because I did want to say one other thing was for those that are listening, if there's anybody that doesn't want to get in trouble, right, is somebody who's been to prison that didn't want to go to prison, wasn't seeking, right, that to happen in their lives. They would not put themselves in another situation where they were going to be cause themselves some trouble that could end up leading them down the same path, right? You dug deep to make sure this was lawful, right?
Yes.
You don't want that trouble. I don't want that trouble.
I don't want to go back. No, I didn't care for it the first time. I don't need to visit again.
Yeah, you've had that experience, and that's enough. Once is enough, or 4 or 5 years, whatever it was a lot. So I really appreciate that. Well, I can't even use enough words to say how grateful I am that you took up this mantle again, right? That you took on this challenge of getting the word out and then expanding it, right? Growing it. So with that said, thank you, Wayne and Kathy, if you can hear me. And especially Kathy, jumping up and down on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
Me. Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
Yep.
The reason that you have this term deposit, similar as you mentioned to a CD, is because you are looking to create your own credit union. And you have to have a certain amount of reserves to be able, on hand, to be able to get that charter, so to speak, right? So
in order to secure the funds when you do a credit union, you're actually working with another bank.
Okay.
You have to have a sister bank that works with you.
Okay.
And the credit union has an account in that bank, and then they have software that lets us break that account down into smaller accounts for our members. Okay.
Gotcha.
So you've got to have a certain amount of cash on reserve in the sister bank so that they know they're covered while you're doing whatever you're doing over here in this credit union.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You have to secure the sister bank.
Okay.
That's what that's about.
Oh, thank you for explaining that. Yeah, that's great. So let's break down the term deposit a little bit. It is a 12-month commitment that you're going to move the silver that you have into this deposit account, and you're going to return 1% per month.
Right.
So if they have 100 ounces of silver in there, that first month, they're going to end up with 101. You're going to take the 1 ounce of silver that was gained and put it into the general account of that member. But you do offer the ability, because they could just roll that right back in again.
Put it right back into the TD account, yes.
So now it's 101 that's getting the 1% the next month, right?
Exactly.
Are you starting that 12-month cycle over again, though, for each time you roll in your returns? Is that correct, or am I wrong on that?
No. It still ends 12 months after the first deposit.
Okay.
But you could have more than one of these accounts.
Okay.
But the one, if you just keep rolling the money back into it, it still ends at the end of the first 12 months.
Okay. Yeah. So if we decided that the next,
Right.
6 months from now, we decide, well, we already have one account, a term deposit account. We want
Right.
to buy 1,000 ounces and we want to put it into the term deposit account. That
Right.
starts its whole, sorry about that, its whole 12-month cycle over again. Each account has its own cycle. Okay, so that's really good. And so really, I think we've kind of covered everything. I really appreciate you sharing your own personal story, which is, it is the story, right? And it's all part of it.
It's all part of the history of the Liberty Dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yep. And so we would love to see what happened in Arkansas, so many years ago, happen again, but with warehouse receipts, right? And that is the way to go, because as you said, Bernard is still returning silver when people turn in these warehouse. Yeah.
Warehouse receipts from back then, yes.
Yeah. So
they expire in 20 years.
Okay.
Well, 20 years ago was 2003. So any certificate dated 2003 or above is still valid.
Right.
And he's still redeeming silver for those people today.
So what
they
if
call us because we've got the same phone number he had back then.
Okay.
They'll call us and say, hey, how do I get my silver? Just a minute. Let me put you in touch with the man that does that.
Yeah. Probably getting ahead of myself. Yeah, getting ahead of myself on 21 years from now. What would somebody do? Take the silver back? They would take it. They would take ownership of it, or it would just. What would happen? Say 21 years.
If a certificate is unredeemed.
Yep.
And expires in 20 years, the silver reverts back to the association.
Okay, so you just a day before that, you want to go and get it, and right?
Come and get it.
Yep. And then you could start the cycle over again. Really, right?
In areas where we have an exchange or a branch office, let's say you get merchants to take it in your community, okay?
Yeah.
But they need cash to pay their suppliers.
Yep.
They can send this to us or take it to a local branch office if we have one in their area, basically deposit it to their digital account, and then sell that silver back to us for whatever the spot price is that day, and we'll ACH the money to them or whatever they want so that they have it the next day.
Yeah.
They've got the cash the next day. So we have a referral program I should have mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We pay a commission 3 levels deep, 5% of every fee we earn off people you refer. And if you sign up a merchant who agrees to take Liberty Dollars, we give you a full ounce of silver in your account.
Yeah, and there's a lot of merchants out in the world.
Yeah. We'd like to have a few of those just laying around.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Really love it. Well, Wayne and Kathy, if you can hear me, thanks so much for this conversation. I know we'll be talking again in the future. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for taking the time and sharing your story. Thanks so much, Wayne.
No problem. We appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, great. All right. You take care.
You too. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, Wayne.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening on this show. Please reach out if you have questions. Please like and subscribe and follow and do all that good stuff, because I really want to get this word out. It's what I do here, right, with Banking on Your Retirement. I'm trying to show there is other ways of doing things. It's opening up people's minds. It's planting seeds that may go somewhere, may not, right, whether they're watered and taken care of. But I do want people to know about things that I hear about that I think would be very helpful. And it's really, for me, it's about two things. It's about love and it's about freedom. It's about loving each other and being truly free to do what we want with our time and our energy on this planet. And back to the love is everything to me. It's the end all of everything. So that's the end of this show, and thanks again, and look forward to diving in deeper with Banking on Your Retirement next week. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Banking on Your Retirement podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Banking on Your Retirement. And don't forget to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks again for listening. The information expressed on this podcast is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Personal due diligence is the listener or viewer's sole responsibility.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.